I'm Andrea Smith for MommyTech TV on the showroom floor of CES 2014. I am so excited because we have with us today Randi Zuckerberg, CEO and founder of Zuckerberg Media, and also author of some fabulous new books, DOTCOMPLICATED, and also a children's book called Dot. I've read these books. I love them. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks. It's great to be here. I love seeing moms taking the tech world by storm here.
Well, and that's exactly what I want to talk to you about, a mom taking the tech world by storm. And isn't it incredible how much advancement and strides women and moms have made?
It is. And now just even looking around the floor here, there's so many apps focused on education for children, on adaptive learning, on safety for kids online. It's exciting to see women focusing on problems that really affect their families.
That really can somehow help you make your life better, make it a little more manageable. We're so busy.
Right. We are. We're so busy and overwhelmed by messages, really. Even when you think about it, we're constantly getting bombarded by emails and texts and tweets and Facebook messages. It's a wonder any of us accomplishes anything in our day, really.
Yeah, exactly. to have a full-time job and also to be a full-time parent.
That's right. And it's like we're now our own full-time secretary, also responding to people 24/7, and people expect an immediate response.
Yep. And so technology really was intended to help us with that and to make our lives a little bit easier, but it seems like it's kind of made us a slave to that responsiveness.
It is, and that's really what I focused on in writing DOTCOMPLICATED, was how to approach technology, especially going into this new year, with a more mindful approach. How does technology work for us and make our lives better instead of owning us?
So I love that. I read your book. I thought it was fabulous. It was just such a true, relatable, compelling tale of trying to live in this crazy world and untangling it. One of the things you talk about is training people and saying to them, I'm not available at 11 o'clock at night. I'm not going to answer your email.
That's right. I think we've almost gotten into a bad habit as a culture where you email someone and then you really expect them to be always online, always available. Mm-hmm. And what happens is if you always answer someone in 10 minutes, if you always respond at midnight, what you're doing is you're training everyone in your life that you're kind of a slave to responding to them all the time. Yep. If you start setting some boundaries around your own life, people will start to respect that. You will gradually train the people around you to respect your time also.
As a woman, I think some people feel that you really shouldn't do that because you don't want anyone to think that your family life is interfering with your professional life. It's a really hard balance.
It is really hard. And I think some women especially, they overcompensate. They want so much to not show any sign of weakness that their family's taking away, that they'll actually go overboard with trying to respond. But I actually think you're doing yourself a disservice because for me, when I take a moment to think about a response, I always respond better than when I respond immediately.
Yes, very true.
And I also just think, we all need to respect our own personal time. Man, woman, kids, no kids, it's universal.
So what are you teaching your kids? I mean, you have a son who's 2 now?
Yeah, he's 2.5, and already there are times when it's like, you're gonna have to pry this phone out of his cold hands. He's 2.5 years old, and he's already
and there's some phones here for 2-year-olds.
And I do have to say, generally, I try to keep, tech is something that we do interactive with one another. It's for creativity. I did have a moment of weakness over the holidays. I had just gotten off a 6-week book tour, and I was like, I just want to go out to a nice restaurant, and I'm just going to put that phone in front of him. For 45 minutes, he just was like playing with his little learning apps, and I was like, this is great.
This is good. Yeah. But you know what? You need that. You do need those moments.
It's about a healthy balance, right?
Yes.
I definitely don't advocate tech as a babysitter for your children, but I also don't advocate no tech. I think children need to have tech literacy. This is the world they're growing up in. If you don't give them access to that, they're going to be behind their peers. And it's just a reality of the world we live in.
That's a really good point, because so many parents are so anti-technology, and they say, no screens, no screen time, no digital anything. And you wonder, when those kids get to preschool, they're going to really be behind their peers.
Especially if their peers have been exposed to iPhones and tablets and devices for, 4 years before them in school. It's just one of the things you wouldn't wait to read or talk to a children or until they're 4 or 5. So why wait to expose them to things that might be the center of their career years later?
I want to ask you because, our audience has kids of all ages. So for older kids, it's really important to teach kids about privacy, about what they're sharing online. Can you give some tips that you've shared in your book?
So one of the things that I talk about a lot in the book is sites that are anonymous tend to scare me a little more for children because people, they hide behind anonymity to say things that are cruel, that are hurtful, that they would never say to someone's face. And I think it's really easy for children. Their self-esteem is so caught up in what their peer group thinks of them at that age.
Right.
That a lot of those anonymous sites like Ask.fm, Whisper, Snapchat, even to an extent where it feels fleeting, the message, and children, they don't yet understand that
they don't understand that it exists.
Screenshot and that it doesn't actually vanish. So I think it's just really important to have an open dialogue with children. What I've found from talking to people is that children are much more likely to tell you about what their friends are doing online than what they're doing online. So opening up a discussion with, what are your friends doing on Snapchat is a much better entree than kind of grilling your child.
And what do you tell people? Obviously it's all out there. Whatever you say, it's out there for the world to see. And I get so many parents who say to me, but I don't know how to check their Instagram. I don't know how to check what they're doing. I think it's a really important message.
It is, and it's really important. You don't need to be on every single site as a parent, but you do need to have at least a baseline elevator pitch familiarity with the sites that your children are using. Now, I know we're already so busy. It's hard to also keep on top of all of these sites, but I think it is really important. You wouldn't send your child off to an extracurricular activity or a play date without at least knowing who they're with and what they're doing. So you should have the same principle around sending them off on the internet too.
Absolutely. I have so many questions to ask you, but let me just wrap up by asking you, give me your favorite top 2 tips for digital etiquette. We walk down the street and people literally stop because they're texting and you bang into them, or they're speaking loudly on a public bus. Anything?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, when you're at a restaurant with a friend, don't put the phone on the table. For me, that's a really big pet peeve because I end up feeling the entire meal like I'm competing with a device for my friend's undivided attention.
Yeah.
So
that
put it
in a second.
pocket. That's right. In a second, it's like they're almost waiting for something better to come than you, to distract them.
Very good point.
I think my other thought is, we talk a lot about children in tech, but watch out for the example you're setting for your children, because a lot of times you might not, it's easy to tell your children don't overshare online, and then you turn around and overshare online. So I think it's important to watch the signals we're sending out also.
Wonderful. Great. All wonderful, good tips. So here's the book, DOTCOMPLICATED, Untangling Our Wired Lives by Randi Zuckerberg. I'm so thrilled to have you here with us, sharing all of your knowledge.
And Dot, the tech-obsessed child in your life, Dot, who learns to put down her devices and go play outside.
So thank you so much, Randi Zuckerberg. I'm Andrea Smith for MommyTech TV, live from CES.
Thank you.